大家好，欢迎大家来到我们的硅谷创业圈。我是达安娜丁维平，那么我也是硅谷创新频道丁丁电视的创办人。然后呢，我们每个礼拜四，就是在礼拜四的5点钟呢，我们会有1个小时的分享，因为我们觉得时间非常宝贵，所以呢，就是在1个小时内容里面呢，我们邀请到的这些我非常信任和欣赏的几位朋友和导师，就全球最新的创业投资趋势、创业及管理运营的智慧，还有品牌出海的实操，提供最新的信息和分析。同时呢，也给那些有产品愿意打开国际市场的创业项目提供一个展示的机会。那我们每一次呢都会有，我们这个活动是我们几家一起办的哈。在我们这个之前呢，我们先请出钉钉 TV 的 CEO Sandy 来给我们 set 一下这个房间。
谢谢达安娜。Hello， 大家好。欢迎大家参加我们的硅谷创业圈的第4期活动。我们硅谷创业圈的活动是每周四的美西时间下午5点举行，活动总共是1小时。我们今天邀请到了3位嘉宾，那每位嘉宾有10分钟的时间跟我们进行分享。之后我们会开放一个问答环节，那每个人呢，问答环节有2分钟的时间，所以请需要提问的朋友先举手，我们会按照顺序邀请您打开麦克风，请您缩短您的问题的长度，所以我们可以邀请我们的嘉宾尽快回答您的问题。那么请大家关注我们硅谷创投圈，在硅谷创投圈的 logo 旁边有个绿色的小房子，点击一下就可以。我们的活动信息会在第一时间发送给您，同时我们欢迎每位朋友在我们的 club 里面举行活动，请先关注我们，然后通过 Instagram 跟我们联系。今天我们非常感谢我们的合作单位 TSVC 和 FoundersSpace 还有敦煌网，谢谢大家。交给达安娜，谢谢。
好的，谢谢 Sandy， 谢谢。我们今天呢是几位嘉宾啊，在这儿给大家稍微介绍一下。一位是夏纯老师，他是 TSVC 的创始合伙人，曾经担任 Sun Microsystem 的首席架构师，为云计算技术的奠基者之一，拥有10项美国专利，先后创办了3家科技公司，所研发的端与边缘容器云技术呢是至今保持世界领先的地位。他专注的领域呢包括互联网、物联网、云计算、边缘计算、大数据、人工智能、芯片设计、智能制造、企业应用等等。另外一位 speaker 呢是 Eason， 敦煌网的 CEO， 他负责敦煌网全球本土化，在20年的时间呢，从传统行业到互联网，从线上到线下，从俄罗斯到欧洲、美国到中东、东南亚，一直在践行的就是中国企业的品牌出海。还有一位呢是霍夫曼船长，他是硅谷重量级的创业教父，天使投资人，在硅谷创办了3家风投基金。那么他创办了 FoundersSpace， 被福布斯杂志呢排名第1的这个创业孵化器。他也是畅销书的作者，他的书呢有比如说像让大象飞、穿越寒冬等等。还有一位呢是 Jesse， 就是王教授，他是Ohio大学的消费心理学的教授，他是对跨文化消费行为、品牌价格方面呢都有深入的研究。还有一位呢是 Dr. Wan， 也是一位我很好的朋友啊，我也把他叫做导师。那么他呢，大家可以看一下他的这个 profile 比较简单啊。我在 Clubhouse 听过他很多次的演讲，我觉得一个从这个女性的创业呀，然后从创业的这种就是分析啊这些方面，他都有很多独到的见解，包括品牌呀、营销方面的。所以呢，等一下呢，我们会也让嘉宾给大家有一些分享的时间。那首先我们就把时间呢要交给夏纯老师。夏纯老师跟我们讲这个话题呢，我觉得特别好，就是炒股怎么炒到 IPO 之前的创业项目。我们有请夏纯老师。
好，大家好，非常感谢戴安娜，谢谢各位听友啊。今天讲一个比较好玩的事情啊，因为最近这一年呢，这个股票真是不得了哈，一发不可收拾，所以很多人都是非常踊跃的去炒股。但是大家炒股呢，炒的都是所谓2级市场，就是说公开发行 IPO 之后的这样的一个股市，这个股票。那么现在有一个新的趋势，非常新的事情，就是说，还没有 IPO 的这应该叫1级市场或者叫私募啊，私募这个事情呢，其实也可以开始交易了啊。 这个事情还是一个比较新的趋势。也就是说，原来是私募只能是由这个投资人，对吧，一些基金来参与的投资的，现在呢能够参与的就更多更开放。那么整体上讲呢，整个这个投资环境啊都在变，发展挺快，因为尤其这个技术的演进啊，有很多新的花样弄出来，尤其是针对年轻人。所以今天呢，我特别请到青谷资本的90后的小妹啊，孙依然。Iris 孙依然呢来讲讲现在，对吧？年轻人看到一些新的趋势，有什么这个投资上有什么玩法？这个炒股有什么玩法？尤其是针对私募一级市场。
OK， 那个非常感谢夏老师介绍。那个大家好，我叫孙依然 Iris， 然后现在是TSVC 的投资经理。然后在夏老师手把手教大家如何炒到那个早期公司股票的实操之前，然后我就抛砖引玉吧，跟大家分享一下，我们作为一个早期基金，然后一些我们觉得非常有意思的一些美国大众的炒股的探点和趋势啊。首先呢，就是我们其实有注意到，就是二级市场投资其实通俗易懂讲就是炒股，在年轻人群体中的这个社交属性大大开始增强。然后大家可能都知道那个 Wall Street Bet 和那个机构大庄家在 GameStop 的那场阶级战争啊。然后现在呢，其实我们也发现那个 Reddit 和 Discord， 然后成为了新的韭菜利好消息和众多股民就是组队打机构的组织根据地。然后呢，包括我们也看到一个非常热门的一个炒股软件啊，就是除了 Robinhood 之外叫 Public， 然后他们发布了18个月之后呢，就有了一个100多万的用户，然后并且主打的就是非常强社交性质的炒股。然后你比如说你可以看到你朋友实时分享他的选股组合，然后甚至仓位，然后呢在上面你也可以随心就是 follow， 就是和互动各个就是民间巴菲特。然后呢，他们呢就是很有意思的是，他们刚刚取消了他们的一个收入来源叫 Payment to Order Flow。然后这个呢，可能大家不是没有听过的，就是这之前是 Robinhood 的一个很大的收入来源之一。然后主要呢就是这些 broker 利用信息不对称，然后把这些股民的单子就是导到给他们提成最高的交易所进行交割。然后这里呢我就不展开讲了。然后最有意思呢是他们把这一项就是 revenue stream 取消之后，他们引入了 tipping， 也就是说他们开始让这些股民对他们的这个软件开始打赏，然后来增强平台的这么一个透明度。然后相信呢就是很快我觉得他们会推出这些就是让股民对这些民间巴菲特进行打赏啊，甚至说你的选股和仓位，然后你的这些你买到一只很好的股票，如果来源于某个大佬的推荐，然后他将你的就是所得的部分打赏给这些大佬，然后甚至说我当时开玩笑说我们之后还会看到说一些民间巴菲特在这些平台上做一些直播买股票，然后这些非常新的这些社交属性极强的一些炒股方式。然后第二个呢，就是可能跟夏老师今天说的更加相关一点，就是我们看到了就是 pre-IPO 市场进入门槛的降低，然后其实给 retail investor 带来了很多的机会。比如说呢Robinhood 以及一家公司叫 SoFi， 不知道大家知不知道，他们是从助学贷款起家的一家美国垂直型的 P2P 平台。然后他们这几天都刚刚推出了打新股的产品，然后也就是说在 IPO 首发之前，大家作为 retail investor 都有机会买到他们 pre-IPO 的股票，不再是说是投行的专利，就是只有机构投资人或者说跟投行关系好的这么一部分小圈子的人可以买到这部分的 pre-IPO 股票。然后也包括呢去年美国 SEC 修改了就是对合格机构投资者的定义，然后其实呢这些从一定程度上来说降低了对机构营业额的最低标准，然后同时呢也扩大了合格投资者的范围。然后这些信号都非常强啊，我们觉得说一级市场的民主化的这个进程在加快，然后这些私募股权的投资也不再局限于这些高净值的人群。 然后我们这些具有专业知识的普通人也可以在一级市场中获得更多的财富。然后当然还有很多有意思的那个事情啊，就比如说我看到就是一家公司现在把那个 SaaS 公司的那个 recurring revenue 给证券化，然后这些有订阅制属性的公司可以将现金很快回流。然后当然现在更多的是买方啦，就是可能在不远的将来我们看到 retail investor 也是有机会去买到这些 securitized 的这些非常好的 asset。然后好了，就是我要把话筒交还给夏老师了，然后因为
好，对，谢谢啊，谢谢这个小妹啊。那么具体做呢，目前啊，就是针对这个pre-IPO 之前的公司呢，现在有一个市场叫 Carta X。Carta X 呢，那它呢是就是说已经收集了很多这些创业公司的这种股权，他在管着，对吧？你无论很多，因为是很多个人都有这个股权，那么这些个人呢，他就有很多人等不到，对吧？等不到公司 IPO，不知道等到猴年马月，也想弄点钱，对吧？他比如说我想买个房子，我想搞点钱出来，但他股票挺多，因为进得早嘛，就可以通过这个市场去卖掉一些。那么目前就卖的人呢是谁呢？就是创业公司里面这些员工啊，或者是创始人，对吧？手里有股票的。那买的人呢，当前呢主要还是这个机构，也就是一些基金。那么 Carta X 我们看它呢，它也是在积极的努力，就是针对这些这个合格的投资人呢，也向大家开放。当然，这个好的股票大家都会抢，对吧？你看，像这个卡塔尔他自己的股票就快大家一抢而光，所以它的估值已经到了7个billion了。那么还有这个 Ginkgo Bio 啊，还有这个一些什么，甚至 Lambda School 有一些对吧？创业公司都比较热，大家都会弄。那么这些具体这些怎么能买到呢？那肯定还是按照市场规则。但这里面肯定有朋友要问，对吧？这些事情它是不是合法？那怎么做合法呢？它首先是这个所有的股票买卖，这个 IRS 对吧？国税局都会介入的。那国税局呢，它有一个规定，对吧？就是它的 Internal Revenue Code Section 409A 呢，就是要给出一个价格，因为和这个股市不太一样，它这个价格是这么定下来的，对吧？通过409A， 那409A 就 Carta 正在做这个409A， 他把这个价格定下来，大家就按照这个价格去买卖，是这样来做啊。那么Carta这个公司呢很有意思哈，因为这个顺便也说，这是青浦资本的我们早期投资的一个项目。它呢是这样做起来，它这件事今天呢它是做了这么一个非常有意思的市场啊，大家可以去炒这个 IPO 之前的这些公司。那么这是它的第3步，那第2步呢其实要倒着看，它之前它做了啥呢？它就是做这个409A， 给很多创业公司，对吧？就是你的股票，如果你要是拿你的 option， 对吧？你究竟应该是算多少钱，税应该怎么算，对吧？它是做409A。那么同时呢，它给很多的这个基金做服务，这个基金投资，对吧？这些股权做服务。那么他做的第1步，这是我说第3步是做市场，第2步是做这些，这个看上去都是一些 dirty work。那么他的第1步其实做的是最 dirty、最无聊的一个事儿，就是管理这个公司的股权表 cap table。他通过这个3个步骤，那么他在一开始呢，他是有很大的一个 vision， 但是一开始这个他去融资啊非常难，对吧？因为投资人说，哇，你要经过3步，你有一个伟大的理想，但是要经过3步才能做到。第1步你可能就死翘翘了，对吧？很难。所以呢，他的这个 CEO Henry 他就总结一个经验，他说我去 convince 这些投资人很难，但是呢，我去找一些就是对我的这个 idea 非常 exciting 的人。那么他找到我们基金这个有劲，对吧？有劲就非常 exciting， 我们就投了。所以现在他就是这么一步步就这么走过来的。所以这个事情很有意思，对吧？这个创业呢也是一步一个脚印，有这个机会，但同时呢，确实给大家形成了一个新的投资机会，就是可以投 IPO 之前的股票。好，我就今天就说到这儿。
谢谢夏成老师，谢谢哈。我觉得如果能够投到 IPO 之前的股票的话，我觉得特别好。但是刚才 Iris 讲到一个重点，这是要一个具有专业知识的普通人。那普通人怎么具有专业知识呢？您可不可以给我稍微简单的回答一下？
所谓专业知识，一个呢就是说是参与到一些基金，对吧？有基金有一些专业的一些投资人来帮你，这个就是说是属于借光了，对吧？ 另外呢，当然就是自己做很多研究，因为我也有些朋友，我自己其实我是不炒股，我不懂股票，我尽管我做投资啊，就是你专门要去研究这个市场，也是有可能的，或者就是跟一些大的基金，对吧？但是能不能进得去，这是另外一回事。但是如果有人在卖，你能抢得到，那也可以。
那个 Diana， 我可以补充一句吗？就是其实对于个人来说，其实他们在 IPO 之前也没有看到它很多的一些基本面的数据，然后其实他们会 release S1， 然后其实大家如果对这家公司的基本面和它画的大饼就是觉得非常有信心的话，大家其实可以就是简单的再看一下它的 S1， 其实是非常有帮助的。
对，我知道 TSVC 之前投资这个 Zoom 就是一个很典型的案例啊。只是说，你看我们这么好的朋友也这么熟悉，但是我们在那个时候没有参与，所以我觉得就是大家也可以在这个时候呢，去这个 follow 一下夏老师和 Iris 啊，看看以后有什么好的机会的时候，也大家可以切磋一下。好，那我们下面呢就要请出 Eason 啊，就是敦煌网美国的 CEO， 来跟我们今天分享的是中国公司这个品牌出海的大事。那么另外一个呢，就是分析一下电商品牌出海的投资机会。跟刚才夏老师也讲到，就是投资机会，那么投资人怎么去看这个机会？其实电商呢也会成为一个投资人投资的亮点。我们下面有请 Eason。
好的，谢谢 Diana。今天很高兴又看到夏纯老师啊，还有 Professor 王，还有 Dr. Wan 啊，还有 Sandy。我看到还有很多老朋友也在啊，我看到了 Frank， 我看到了 Jason， 看到了 Ruby 罗老师哈。好，各位下午好。我今天想聊一个很有意思的话题，就是我们在电商这里边，因为敦煌做了17年电商嘛，我自己又做了20年的品牌出海，我发现一个很有意思的话题。这个话题呢，我先聊完，可能后面会跟投资人发生一些互动啊。就是我们在最近这5到10年呢，我们这些做电商平台的人会经常聊一个话题，就是到底谁是现在跨境电商的主角？因为我们发现我们的客户呢主要是2种，第一种人叫做做品牌的人，现在开始做电商；第二种客户叫做做电商的人开始做品牌。这个很有意思，因为我们发现呢，往往是就是在敦煌的平台也好，在敦煌也好，还是其他的这个平台上，都是发现有很多品牌，它本来是就是我们叫传统品牌，开始通过各种方式做电商。然后又有一批人呢是电商的卖家出身，或者是来自互联网的公司，我们统称为叫电商人，他来做品牌。那我们一直有这么一个争议，到底哪一种才是主流呢？但是最近我们发现答案出乎意料之外，我们发现是百花齐放。我举2个例子哈，我们比如看一下，最近呢有3家公司都是做这个电商品牌的公司，都拿到了这个投资，他们做法叫百花齐放。第一个公司呢，跟各位要分享的叫做鸿宝科技，它是来自深圳，它3月26号呢，它拿到了一个几千万美元的一个 B 轮融资，领投方是叫蓝星亚洲投资集团。那这家公司是非常传统的，过去是做 B2B 的一家公司，而且是做传统 B2B 的贸易和品牌出海的。那么最近5年呢，它开始转向做跨境电商里面的这个 2C， 包括 DTC， 主要是通过亚马逊来主攻北美市场。那他发现呢，就是这家他通过传统的品牌的这种优势的积累，包括研发，包括它的产品力，再通过再用电商打法呢，它这个整个销量呢，它在亚马逊这段几年时间，它在全球就积累了超过1000万的用户啊，一直稳居亚马逊平台这个品类的一个第一梯队。那这家公司拿到钱了，我们看看第2家公司，它是干嘛的呢？它是一个叫做 Happy Watch， 它是一个做那个腕表的，2019年才成立，在国内上线。那么今年就3月份，它就现在拿到了一个天使轮的一个1000万级人民币的天使轮融资。那这是典型的第2种人，叫做电商人做品牌。那创业团队呢是纯粹电商人，他们就完全用这个叫做用互联网思维做品牌。他们是怎么做海外市场呢？他19年在国内上线以后呢，2020年就去年9月份，他们通过那个 Indiegogo 在美国众筹出海，当时就获得了这个150万，第一批就通过 Indiegogo 获得了18万美元的这个众筹的这个资金，然后现在在那个美国市场的每个月能做到突破20万美元。那这个就你看这2家公司都融到资了哈，就第一家是品牌人做电商拿到钱了，第2家是电商人做品牌，他也拿到钱了。他最有意思还有第3种人，他也拿到钱了，他是干嘛的呢？他是本来是品牌人做电商，一代是品牌人做电商，他的2代 级为电商人做品牌，他就大家可能都很熟悉了，在公司最近在美国很受欢迎，叫做 Alter， 他是做户外家具的。那 Alter 呢，它其实是2018年才成立。Alter 它的第一代人呢是来自浙江的工厂做户外家具的，是典型的是做品牌的人。那么他的第二代呢，这个第二代我们讲其实已经是美籍华人了。他的第二代呢就开始先是帮父母是从品牌做电商，然后他自己开始琢磨着用他的电商能力，然后他又创始了一个新的品牌叫做 Alter。那这个品牌呢，18年成立的话，那么前不久就拿到了红杉中国和西印的一个投资，一共是 A 轮的，一共是1050万美元。那这很有意思啊，最近引起了我们的同事和我们这个大家朋友们的这种热烈讨论，就看来很有意思。看来在品牌出海这个赛道里面呢，其实大家是百花齐放，都有机会。你看看，我们说品牌人做电商，它的本质是什么呢？它的本质实际上是做品牌的人用电商这个工具和渠道去拿到更多的市场份额，去提升在全球的市场占有率和提升自己的品牌认知。那么这么做下去，那能做得非常好，也能拿到融资。那第二种人呢，往往是电商人、电商卖家做品牌，它的核心在于呢是提高品牌的溢价和提高用户的粘性。它往往是从一个简单的一个极致的核心产品，我们叫爆款做起，那这样也能拿到很棒的也能实现很好的销售和拿到投资。那么第三种人呢，是把两种优势集为一体，从本来是品牌人做电商，现在升级到电商人做品牌，那么叫青出于蓝，那也能拿到投资。那这就给了我们一个很大的启发，就是由于跨境电商这个赛道呢，它其实是连接了品牌方和全球的消费者，它其实是科技驱动、营销驱动、数据驱动，它其实是在品牌方和销售者和这个消费者之间，在从过去的传统关系像社群关系来演进。所以我们觉得在这一块未来呢还有无限的空间哈。那么我们那说回到我们自己呢，我们最近呢，我们平台呢，我们准备打造一个特殊的东西，我们叫做品牌出海孵化器，或者叫品牌出海加速器。那就是因为我们在敦煌网上的因为我们本来是个 B2B 的平台，我们通过这么多年发展呢，积累了很多的我们的好优质的中国卖家和海外的优质买家。我们现在发现呢，我们的平台的卖家呢，他们大体会按照刚才我所描述的这3种方向去发展，但是不论它怎么发展，它都离不开品牌、电商、出海这些关键词。所以我们是希望呢，我们自己呢，我们这个平台作为一家17年的平台，我们也在思考着转型升级。我们希望呢，就我们下一步呢，我们希望自己呢，把我们的整个平台的整个我们的能量和我们的生态，是作为众多中国品牌或者华人品牌或者更多全球品牌能够去出海的一个孵化器和加速器哈。比如说我们最近也在和这个戴安娜在协商，怎么样通过融入到美国的主流媒体，通过做品牌发布，让中国的品牌有更多的机会能够融入到美国的主流，对吧？那我们也希望呢，我们也在和很多投资界的朋友大家看一看，对于这么有前景的这些电商品牌或者叫品牌电商，不论它是按我刚刚说的是属于 A 类还是 B 类还是 C 类，其实我们认为都有很好的发展前景。我们呢也愿意为这些品牌的出海，愿意呢为他们提供从流量方面，从本土化的服务，从全球市场的布局到落地各方各面，我们提供我们的一个全方位的一个服务。我们希望未来有更多的出海的品牌，或者叫能够和资本界的朋友们产生化学反应。我们愿意充当其中的一个桥梁和一个加速器。好，这就是今天我想借分享过去1周的一些跨境电商这个赛道的融资案例，和各位分享我们的一些最新的一些想法，也希望也期待着有更多探讨。好，谢谢大家呢。
谢谢Eason，谢谢大家啊。对，Eason刚刚讲的很对啊，不管是做品牌的人现在做电商，还是做电商的人开始做品牌呢，其实呢，他们都需要一个就是生态系统，一个 ecosystem。这不是说一家可以单独调动巨大的资源来做的。那么这样的话，也就是说，这是我跟我们硅谷创新频道丁丁电视跟这个敦煌网呢一起想要合作，为大家来搭建的这么一个服务。我们也希望在这个一个小时的分享里面呢，有哪些朋友如果想要加入我们成为合作伙伴的话，我们非常欢迎。也在这非常谢谢我看到很多好朋友在这儿，一些我非常敬佩的老师，Ruby 老师、Jason 老师，这个 Alex、Frank， 还有这个雨萍，熊飞、Ro， Thank you very much。还有我那个加拿大的一个朋友 Richard 也在这儿。那么等一下呢，我们会请那个 Steve Hoffman 给我们演讲。那 Steve 演讲之后呢，我们会开放一点互动的时间。Steve 演讲的中间呢，您可以举手，我会把您呢就是请上台来。So next, let's welcome Steve Hoffman. Steve is someone I truly respect. We've been working together for many years. He's a person who truly understands the culture and innovation in Asia and the United States, East and the West. So he's the founder and CEO of FoundersSpace, one of the world leading startup accelerators. He's also the VC and angel investor and author of several award-winning books, including Make Elephants Fly and Surviving a Startup. If you haven't read the book, I strongly recommend you those really great books. When you read that book, it's like lighting up your heart. So you can search the book on Amazon. So he's going to talk about a very important topic, President Biden and Sino-US relations. That's something that everybody curious and would like to know. So next, let's welcome Steve Hoffman. It's your turn.
Thank you, Diana, and wonderful to be here again with you. So today, I want to talk for a short time about what's happening in our international relations from a Silicon Valley perspective. So we've already seen that over the past 4 years with the Trump administration, things changed dramatically. There was a big cooling off. I remember 4 years ago, China and the United States were deeply engaged in a lot of projects, cross-border projects, investing, incubating startups, collaborating on research. A lot of that collaboration and partnerships have come to a halt over the past 4 years. And we've seen tensions rise on both sides of the ocean. So this is a concern for me for a lot of reasons. Number one, I am just concerned for the world. I think it's really important for the two biggest superpowers in the world to get along. Because if we don't get along, it could lead to catastrophic scenarios that you can imagine, where conflict erupts that goes beyond trade conflict. I think for both countries and for the world in general, that would be a disaster. It's what I've seen, reading a lot of history, that if we can avert war, if we can work things out in an amicable way, it is both sides win. And if we have to enter into a violent conflict, almost always both sides lose. Now, there are certain exceptions to this when it's an existential threat. For example, Hitler and the Nazis. But we are far from that. So I think it's really important for both sides to engage right now and come up with ways to work together and live together. It's really important, not just for our economies, but for the whole stability of the world. Now, all of us know that our weapons are getting increasingly powerful. Beyond nuclear weapons, we now have CRISPR gene editing, AI, all these technologies, drones that didn't exist before. So the type of war we would experience wouldn't be something that we have seen before and could easily spiral out of control. So that is my greatest fear. Most likely, I think it will not come to that. We will not get to that point of crossing that line, because I don't think either Biden or Xi wants to cross that line. They may rattle sabers, they may speak loudly, but I think at the end of the day, they realize the consequences. But there's something bigger, and all of us, all the people I work with in Silicon Valley and China, we tend to be high-tech entrepreneurs and investors. And we can also benefit a lot through collaboration. And so a deepening of collaboration in areas that aren't sensitive militarily is really important. But when we start putting general categories of technology off limits, like artificial intelligence, that almost means any type of joint investing or cross-border collaborations comes to a halt, because I can't name any great product today that doesn't use artificial intelligence in some form. So we need to think about that. We also need to understand that the world has a global supply chain, and decoupling will create pain on both sides, and will create a lot of disruption in the world, as we've seen. But these aren't the biggest issues. I believe that both China and the U.S. are now stable enough and powerful enough to actually totally decouple and without spiraling into a depression. However, if we are heading towards a depression, if we see the market bubble pop and things start sliding down, a decoupling will definitely accelerate things and make it worse. Also, we need to really think carefully about the type of future we want. So it's very hard to do stuff in the world when China and the United States take opposite points of view out of principle on a lot of key issues. For example, in dealing with terrorists, around the globe, both China and US have a problem. We need to figure out ways where we can cooperate and not have one of us either look away or refuse to take proactive action, because this is more important than ever. So all the forces that led to 9/11 are still out there. None of them have gone away. Some of them are stronger than ever, and they are also using technology in new ways. Cyber hacking, we've seen a lot of that, especially with the Russians. But that technology, anybody can access it. It's not that difficult. And I'm very worried about CRISPR and gene editing and gene drives and its ability to unleash deadly viruses and other things we can't even predict into our environment and ecosystem that could potentially, cause serious problems for people everywhere, because they don't know borders. And if terrorists get a hold of them, they could literally wreak havoc, even not realizing the consequences of their own actions and how far they would go. So we need to be vigilant, and working together with China and the United States is essential for that. We need to be combining forces, because honestly, that's our greatest threat. Each other are not our greatest threats. Our greatest threats come from outside third parties. And even if we step back and look at the world, there are a lot of problems that still exist. People are still starving in the world, and we have an abundance of food. We could fix those problems. Countries fall into civil war and border clashes all the time. By working together, we could relieve a lot of suffering. We look at education globally. We still have a long way to go in literacy and basic education and lifting people up. We look at almost any problem, climate change being the biggest one. And by cooperating, we could make enormous progress in a very short time. So I see Biden as holding out a fig leaf of sorts around climate change, saying, let's start here. Let's figure out if we can work together on climate change and then take it to the next level. However, that doesn't erase all the animosity that's built up over the past 4 years. We still have a long way to go with trust, and I am hopeful that we can start making progress. And then, the more we work together, the more we can address those sticky issues. And I won't bring them all up, but we all know what those really delicate issues are between both countries, and we won't get to addressing those if we don't start with some basics. And honestly, we can't force each other into doing anything. China cannot really force the U.S. into doing something without starting a war, and the U.S. cannot force China into doing something without starting a war. And so at a certain point, we have to talk. We really do not have a choice. And I feel passionately about that. I've done business cross-border. I have friends on, both countries. I have friends all over the globe. And I really want to see us solve a lot of these outstanding issues and actually get on a path where we are moving closer together in not just in business, not just in politics, but in relationships and understanding of cultures over time, so that we can build a more stable economy and a more stable world. So those are my thoughts, and I open it up to everybody else to express theirs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Yes, yes, there's some hope, but still some worries. So later on, we're going to open the discussion. So anyone want to talk to Steve and ask questions regarding the relationship between China and the United States, and also anyone have ideas and want to talk to Eason about the branding or the investment and questions for Teacher Xia, raise up your hand. I'm going to bring you to stage. So before that, I'm going to invite Sandy to come out and reset our room. Sandy, 我们 reset 一下房间。
好的，谢谢戴安娜，我们 reset 一下房间。那非常感谢我们的夏纯老师和Eason易总和 Steve Hoffman 给我们非常精彩的分享。那么下面我们开放一个问答环节，每个人一共是不超过2分钟。如果有需要提问和回应的朋友，请举手，我们会按照顺序邀请您打开麦克风。今年的活动一共是1个小时，我们大约会在6点钟。6 p.m. sharp 来结束今天的活动，请大家先关注我们的硅谷创投圈，在我们的老房间有个绿色的小房子，点击一下就可以。我们以后的活动信息会在第一时间发送给你们。同时，我们欢迎每一位朋友在我们的 club 里面举行活动，请先关注我们，然后通过Instagram 跟我们联系。谢谢大家给回答呢，谢谢。
谢谢Sandy，谢谢。对，如果大家有什么想法、建议要合作的话，或者有些项目的话，可以跟我在我的 Instagram 的 profile 里面呢，在 Instagram 里面发信息给我哈。那我们在台上呢有2位我非常尊敬和喜欢的这个2位优秀的女性哈，我们也请他们来给我们也做一个回应。我们先请那个 Professor 王 Jessie。
Diana， 谢谢。I actually just have one question for Steve, and it will be very quick. I know there are people who all want to ask questions. So, Steve, can I ask you a very quick question?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. So what you just said, I completely agree. And actually, it's getting me worried even more than I did 10 minutes ago. My question is that what would be the one thing you think that could happen that would dramatically improve the U.S.-China relationship? Thank you. This is Jessie.
That is a great question. And I think my fundamental belief is we need to start with the smaller things first, because the bigger issues are at this point where our relationship has moved apart are difficult to tackle. I'd love to see us tackle those big issues, the elephants in the room. But I know that wouldn't work. I think, honestly, like I said, climate change, Biden is a smart guy. So he's rational. I think ultimately he really wants us to get along with China and better relationships. But there's a lot of political pressures on him, and there are a lot of concerns he has. U.S. agenda is very different from China's. So I think Biden and that administration identified correctly that starting with climate change and making significant progress on this will be a great introduction, because we already had the meeting in Alaska and it didn't go too well. So if you're going to go off into other issues, we're just going to hit a wall at this point until we build up some trust and some reason to move forward together.
Thank you, Steve. That's a great answer. And I hope as an individual, there's something I can do to contribute to that change. Thanks again.
Thank you. And I too hope I can contribute to that change. I've been trying my best, but it's very hard for us as individuals to have a big impact on issues like this.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Professor Wang. I think that here we're discussing this, and potentially, there's an opportunity for us to work together some way, somewhere, and somehow. So maybe
Yes,
we can work together. Yes, thank you. So next, I would like to invite Dr. Wan. And yeah, Dr. Wan, the microphone is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Steve. I actually have just a quick question to get your comment on this. You know that the Chinese Taobao is it's almost like a consumer index. You know, like they can predict who would win. You know, whether back then was Trump by how many little flags and all these campaign tracks were ordered. You know, based on the volume to see which party has a stronger voter base. And recently, there are a lot of these T-shirts with this logo, Chinese called a cultural T-shirt, and has a lot of very anti-US, very nationalistic feelings. And so with these division in terms of the political conflicts between the two countries, how do you think the consumer sentiment, especially this rising nationalism in China, how that affects the commerce and also especially in the investment kind of a domain? I really, the pushback, I'm not too optimistic. I actually am quite worried because I mean, it's a global education, international education arena. I would like to know your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Yeah, great question, and it really concerns me too. So, you know, to me, nationalism has been one of the biggest plagues of humanity. We all like to feel patriotic. We all like to feel we're doing the right thing. But what nationalism tends to do is blind you to the other person's point of view. And as we've all seen over the past 4 years in America, we have become very nationalistic. And as our relationships with China deteriorated, now China is becoming very nationalistic. So that concerns me because human beings don't operate independently. We like to think we're individuals, our thoughts are all our own, we'll make our decision, but study after study has proven that people tend to form their opinions from the people around them. So when you get a group shifting in this way to becoming more antagonistic, more nationalistic, more closed off to other ideas, then you can go to further and further to extremes. And I tend to be somebody who really believes in moderation. So moderation in all things, right? We need, especially when it comes to governments, I prefer moderate governments, not too far to the left, not too far to the right, you know, in the middle, that really have a broad reach to people, and also don't use fear and don't use hate to move people. Now, we've seen most wars break out when they don't have to, because some leaders actually use the forces of fear and hate, which are really, we are programmed as tribal creatures, you know, to respond to these without even realizing what the consequences are. So I think people need to be educated, and I think we need more cross-border dialogues, where, especially now, where Chinese and, you know, Americans come together to understand each other's point of views with an open mind, like with not looking to fight, but looking to really understand and work out solutions. Now in business, we've already seen a big cooling off, you know, and now they're talking about severely restricting Chinese IPOs in America. Maybe some tightening is necessary, but to potentially kick off, you know, 90% of the Chinese startups from U.S. stock exchanges, I don't think that's a good idea. And I don't think it will, again, benefit us or them. You know, and U.S. companies are having an incredibly hard time now entering the China market, harder than ever before. It was never easy. And vice versa, we can see Chinese companies, you know, in the U.S. market facing, you know, stiff opposition, you know, at every turn they go to. So this does not bode well. But the only way around these solutions is dialogue. And actually, I'm thinking that's one thing that all of us can do, right? All of us can work together to foster these type of dialogues where we really get a broad swath of people into the room with different opinions, but a commitment to listen and open their minds and come up with really creative solutions together to the problems we face. And if we don't do that, the results, in America, it's like my heart goes out and it makes me want to cry because it's so anti-American, at least what we're supposed to stand for. The anti-Asian sentiment in the United States right now, where people are, old women are being attacked. It's just unbelievable. And you can imagine China isn't at that point with foreigners, but it has, in the past, China, has had a lot of incidents, the distant past, not the recent past, during the Cultural Revolution, where things got really bad. So we don't want to go that direction. You talk to anybody who lived through these times in the past where hatred flared, whether it's in Europe, America, or China, or any other country, and it's awful. And it's really awful for almost everybody. So all of us should start pushing back, should start really raising our voices and saying, look, let's look for other solutions. Just continuing down the path we've been going on is only going to make things worse. And the repercussions will be felt at home.
Steve, you still there?
Yes.
Oh,
so
yes.
I
just it.
my rant.
Thank you. Yes, Steve. Yes, Steve. I'm so touched. I think that means a lot. I feel like you truly understand and you're standing with us together to fight against this Asian hate crime. So I'm so touched, and thank you so much for the support. That means a lot. I think that people getting together can get together in two directions. One is the fear and hatred. Another is understanding and love. Yeah, with understanding and love, the situation will be way better and the environment will be totally different. So that's what we need to do, and through the dialogue to understand each other and appreciate the difference. Thank you so much.
Diana, it's so true. If you go back to any of the great religions around the world or any of the great movements around the world, they were all centered around understanding and coming together. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, they were all around it. But they can be distorted, by forces and used to justify hate when that's really antithetical to everything that our cultures stand for.
Thank you. So next, I'm going to give the microphone to Hong Sing. Hong Sing, am I correct? Pronounced correct your name?
Yes. Diana, thank you very much, and to all the moderator, I was on your channel, and also to Dr. Wen. I yesterday heard about the growth and the vulnerability and growth channel. I got into this channel, or rather your room, because I heard from Eason that the cases about crowdfunding on one of the case where the campaigners or the business owner actually went or even like possibly those others that are entering the Thai market, possibly can also explore the conversation of crowdfunding. I believe that in America, in China, crowdfunding is not new. In fact, I learned a lot from the American market about crowdfunding, and that was also in the early years where I brought in the conversation of crowdfunding across in the Asia and ASEAN context. Yeah. So to Eason is that what is the possibilities and what are the channels where we can explore. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Hong-Sing. So this question is for Eason, and thank you so much. I think that this is really a contribution. I hope that I have followed you, and we hope that we can connect with you, and also connect the entrepreneurs and also market from Thailand. So Eason, you heard the question. You would like to give the answer?
Yeah. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Hong-Sing. You are from Thailand, right? So I do apologize. I didn't hear your question very clearly, but I suppose let me repeat. Your question is about what kind of channels you can use to enter the American market. Am I right?
Yes. I mean, because currently we have entrepreneurs, businesses, and we are fundraising on our platform, and we are basically going to launch them in this quarter. So we have various that are very interested in the Chinese and the American market, but all these are Thai companies. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Yeah, it's a good question. So actually right now I'm here in America. I'm located in the San Francisco Bay Area. So right now our business model is to help Chinese company and their company from the other countries to enter American market using our platform. So we can connect you and all your brand with more than 1 million American professional buyers, because we already have our business in America for more than 17 years, and all our professional buyers, they are the digital buyer. I mean, for example, they are the online resellers, or they are the owners of independent store. So we can use our channels to help you to using the B2B cross-border approach to connect with a lot of professional buyers. Is the first channel. The second channel, we are now connecting with a lot of KOL or influencers in the American market who are helping people to run their store on Amazon, eBay, and other platforms. So we do hope that we can. So through our channels, you can connect with a lot of professional buyers or influence to help you to connect with more channels and to help you to build up your brand awareness as soon as possible. So this basically is our business model. So but right now we feel that it's not enough just to use the channels of DHK. This is why we would like to help people the first to connect with more potential investors, because we feel that it's very important to combine your business and the raising of money from investors. It's the first thing. The second thing that we are trying to organize a fulfillment local services in America based on our diverse American local team. So basically, Hong-Sing, I think because your time is limited, I hope that we can, if you are interested in how to enter American market, we can find a time to discuss more detail. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Eason. Thank you, Hong-Sing. Hong-Sing, you please drop me a message through Instagram. I would like to schedule another meeting with you and Eason so we can discuss this and learn more about how can we help each other. Okay. Thank you, Hong-Sing. Yes. Thank you. So next, I would like to invite teacher Ruby. Ruby 老师, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. Thanks, Sandy and Eason. Steve, I'm a big fan of yours. I have written 2 of your books. As a matter of fact, I still read your books today. I do have a question for you. Are you still here?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm a Canadian. I'm in Canada. I think political conflict can easily make people who have never met feel hostile towards each other. And this is dangerous not only for two countries like US and China. And I also think it's going to affect Canada as well. What do you have, like, Meng Wanzhou, right? What happened to her? Have you had any prediction, like between how this Biden ministry going to affect Canada and China, and like this is like a triangle. I never can figure out, because I know right now our president, what's his name? Just he's very close with the Biden ministry, right? So I don't. What do you view on that?
Yes, I think what Biden does will have a big impact on Canada's foreign policy, because Canada is, the U.S. is Canada's biggest trading partner. The cultures are very close. I can't see them diverging that much. And, historically, we've always seen Canada and the U.S. sort of go in lockstep. Now, Canada does have its, they will diverge from the U.S. on certain issues, but not on very specific issues, but not the overarching foreign policy is pretty much the same. And if you look in Europe, you can already see Europe being influenced by the Trump administration. There have been a lot of nationalism in Europe. A lot of right-wing groups have risen up and become more powerful over the past 4 years across Europe. It's not just America, it's Brazil too, and other countries. And then you also see relationships in Europe right now worsening with China. So these things aren't constrained to America. It's global, and we really need to. I tend to be a globalist, so I look at not just putting America first or what's good for America. I look at, let's put the world first, right? America is a member of the world. Granted, we have a lot of power and to wield, but that doesn't mean we should abuse our power. All of us are human, and all these countries are really no difference between us except for like our culture and our location. At the end of the day, we all feel the same pain. We all feel the same joy. Fundamentally, we are the same beings. And if we are going to build a better planet, we have to think globally. It's just like if you're in business and you say, I'm going to put myself first, I'm ahead of all my colleagues, right? I will screw them whenever I can. I will always get the best deal. I will always, be out for me. You will make their lives miserable in the process, but at the end of the day, it won't necessarily be better for you. They have done many studies of business, which I have studied being a business author, not a political scientist, but in the business culture, whether it's employees within a company, whether it's companies collaborating together, if you trust and treat your fellow coworkers and your partners fairly, and have an open mind and aren't always trying to get an edge on them or manipulate them in some way that only benefits you, you actually come out stronger. And so this is true, all throughout the world, and it's literally how we built empires as big as the United States and China, right? We built America based on the idea that we were going to give freedom to Americans and that all Americans should be included. That's what people fundamentally want. Now, the system doesn't always work that way. We know there's always discrimination. There are always people getting unfair treatment. But that, as a founding principle, has allowed America to thrive. And you look at Europe, they have the same principles. You look at in China, when I'm in China, I see people very cooperative, helping each other. that is how China has risen up and done so well over the past 40 years. So we need to extend that beyond our borders if we're going to get the world to where we want it to be. And it won't get there if we don't make that effort.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. I totally agree with you. American first sounds like American standalone. And also, I really like what President Biden have said. It's not the example of our power. It's the power of our example, which is so true. Yeah, thank you, Steve. So next, I'm going to give microphone to Glenn. Glenn, it's your turn.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, Steve, Charlie. I really appreciate your presentation and your dialogue regarding the American first, regarding the America and the Chinese connection. So my background actually is a clean power project developer, especially the solar and storage project developer mostly in the East Coast. So I'm the solar pioneer since 1996. In your dialogue, Steve, several times you mentioned the climate change and also mentioned the Biden administration infrastructure plan for the coming 10 years. Definitely, you can see in the plan, right? There's many investments on the infrastructure, especially the clean power, clean tech, basically the EV infrastructure. So right now, I would see in the following 10 years, right? There are so many opportunities actually will be happening in this field. From my perspective, actually, I would say the opportunity, probably maybe the VC, investor maybe think, okay, the return might be a little bit smaller than the other, high tech or the fermentical companies, right? The new in the different field. But I would say in renewable energy field, right? So the opportunity might be, especially the insights, right? Maybe much better than the other VC investment target, because what's the return exactly from the renewable project, right? So it's very steady, and you can calculate in the future. You can predict. You can definitely, O&M without any concern, any problem. Like the solar, right? You can just leave the solar generation, the power plant over there. Nothing you need to take care in the future for over 35 years. So that's why I would say, I talked with Charlie a couple times, right? So he might think, okay, the return not very good, like the VC investment in other new field companies. But I would say right now, as a Biden administration, emphasis, right? The renewable infrastructure, including the basically the electrical infrastructure, right? Investment opportunity is really coming. So please emphasize and make mostly your investment in this field. Anything you wanted to looking for, right? I can help. This is a really big opportunity.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you. Yes, Steve, do you have interest in this industry?
Very much. I think it's essential for all of us. Climate change knows no borders. That's what we have to remember. What anybody does anywhere in the world, unless we can get cooperation, it won't work. Another example of how we have to cooperate in the coming century. Also, I think, because Biden is putting down $2 trillion into revamping our infrastructure, including the new Green Deal that he's putting together, it is a huge opportunity for companies like yours, for any company entering the green energy space. So we can see already that Tesla wouldn't be the Tesla it is today without government support. Literally, if you look at their balance sheet prior to buying Bitcoin, their profits were literally made off of government support. Without that, they would have not been profitable. And recently, Bitcoin shot up, and so they reaped additional profits, but that won't last forever. So the same thing is also happening in China. China has significant subsidies for EVs and solar and all the whole infrastructure, and that is making an enormous difference. So what we have to factor in is, yes, we are giving these subsidies, but what nobody talks about is we've already given the oil industry massive subsidies for decades and decades, billions and billions of dollars, it's trillions overall, to the oil industry, and we have not made, in addition to giving them subsidies, we do not make them pay for the damage they're doing. They are the ones, climate change is a direct result of our emissions, and the oil industries has got off without doing virtually anything to stop or rectify the problem that's been created. So it's time we stopped those subsidies and shifted into alternate forms of energy. And yes, I am very interested in these projects. I see a lot of potential, and I see room for even new innovation. So, for example, we are going to have to not only convert fossil fuels into greener forms of energy, the use of fossil fuels, but we also have to consider geoengineering. It's going to come to the point, I think, no matter what we do, that we are going to have to geoengineer our climate, and there are a lot of companies out there just now experimenting on, putting particles into our atmosphere that reflect sunlight, cooling off the planet, growing new types of algae that suck up carbon. We're going to need to do both. So there are a lot of opportunities across the spectrum, and I think they can be very profitable in the future, and great investments, as Elon Musk has already proved. You can, as a VC, you can get great returns. So definitely, let me know about these.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Glenn. You can also follow 夏纯老师 and TSVC. They are a very good investment firm in Silicon Valley. 夏纯老师 and Iris. Yeah, you can follow. Yeah, all of them. Yeah, hope that
okay.
We can.
I want to put another point, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
30 seconds. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, please. The renewable investment field, right? So the IRS has the tax equity investment credit. So right now the rate of the investment tax credit, right, is 26%. Right now only focus on the solar and the wind generation, but will be extended to the battery storage also. And also notice, right, originally the 26% of the ITC would only be extended to 2026. But right now in the new instruction plan of Biden administration, right, the ITC will be extended in another 4 years, meaning totally 10 years in the plan. So I know that VC investor has a lot of profit. It's good things to put the tax credit, right, to claim back the tax you paid to the federal, and that's another way. I know right now mostly the Google, the Apple, the Amazon, the Facebook, right? All those guys, big guys, right? Use their tax credit, right? Tax equity, invest so many solar projects. I have 2 projects originally, signed the purchase agreement with them also. Thank you. That's my
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you. Yes, I have followed you, and in the future we may have a topic discussing about this, and we will invite you back for sure. So next, I would like to invite Jay. Jay, it's your turn.
Oh, thank you so much, Diana. Hello, my name is Jay, and my current location is in Melbourne, Australia. And I would like to get the advice from Steve here, if I could. My background has been in the electric utility power energy industry, very similar to Glenn. And for my last 15 years of professional history, I've been working 10 years in deploying and operating the smart grid in Australia. And then spending the last 5 years of extending the application of these things and making a good use of the data we collected from the sensors all around the city to help the energy utilities to make some good decisions. Things like we get very high renewable penetration already in Australia, and like where the best we should apply them, and also probably even before we're thinking about spending and having infrastructure, can we effectively utilize our existing resource, which make more sense of the current infrastructure without even spending more on the new infrastructures. So that's my background. I guess exactly like what Glenn just mentioned, this $2 trillion spending plan announced by Biden just to really excite everyone. That looks like America is finally going to take the infrastructure very seriously. So the advice I would like to seek from you is like if I would like to apply certain the business models and the consultancies and the kind of like a data-driven approach we had in Australia and try to bring that across to US and try to set up like consultancy firm in Silicon Valley, get better talent and start offering this kind of experience, start offering this kind of services to the utilities. What would be the key challenges you foresee? And this is James speaking. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, it's great that you've done this. It's great that you've gained all this knowledge and you want to share it. I think the timing is perfect, but that doesn't mean it will be easy. So it's always difficult to enter a new market, especially where you don't have a close network. Because as you know, you've probably built up your network in Australia over years. You have a lot of relationships there that go back a long way, and so those lead to opportunities. So if you're going to tackle Silicon Valley, the best way is to get on the ground. You have to make that commitment. I tell people, if you want to enter the China market, you can't manage China venture from the US. You have to be on the ground in China. You have to be working and have, at the very minimum, really talented Chinese on your team who have all the relationships, who know exactly how everything works. So the same would be true here if you're coming from Australia to the US. Although the cultures are similar, you're going to still need to build that network quickly. So I don't know if you're a master networker, but it's time you did that. And it should be opening up very soon. With the vaccines are rolling out so fast now that anybody who basically wants a vaccine can get it. So it should be a short time before you can enter the US safely. And what you really need to do is there's a lot going on in Silicon Valley and across the country. A lot of conferences, a lot of meetup groups. There are a lot of green energy companies, and there'll be a lot more. So you need to get on their radar, and you need to go out and meet them in person, talk to them. They need to understand what you've done and why it's so valuable. So I would prepare, and you might have probably already have this, a pitch about what would they gain by bringing you on board. And then you need to get in the door, and that's really just a lot of hard work connecting with people and groups here focused on that. But there's no reason why you can't do it. Lots of Australian startups have succeeded in Silicon Valley, done extremely well. There's no reason you can't. And the consulting business, to be honest, is even easier than other businesses because, you can only take on so many projects at a time, so it usually scales up a little more slowly, but it's all based on relationships, which you have to go out and make. I'm happy at FoundersSpace if you have a video or something you want to share with our community, send it to me, and I'm happy to share that. I think what you're doing is good, and there are a lot of startups that can benefit. I would also recommend going on like AngelList and looking at some of the early stage startups in the space that you where your expertise lies, and actually just reaching out and contacting to them at an earlier stage. It's very easy to get a hold of them, and I would recommend joining the various organizations focused on your on the green energy. There are a lot of them. I just join them across the board online first, make relationships before you get here, so that when you get here, you can hit the ground running. So that's my quick advice.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jay. And Jay, you're welcome to Silicon Valley. If you need any, networks and resource, and contact me and Steve. Yeah, we're willing to help. Thank you, Jay.
Much appreciated. It resonated really, really well. Again, very grateful for your advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Steve, have you ever met Charlie? Actually, Charlie is same as you. I would say the person that using his whole heart help entrepreneurs, and he's the one that truly understand the dream, what that dream means for entrepreneurs. And he's also the one that each time I've listened to him, I learned a lot, a great mentor and teacher for many of us entrepreneurs in Clubhouse and all over the world. Steve, have you ever met Charlie?
Yeah, I believe we met.
Yes, great.
Yes,
great.
we did.
Yes,
we did.
Yeah, Charlie 老师, it's your turn.
Thanks, Diana. Steve, we've talked a few times in Clubhouse.
Yep.
So you guys talked about America first. I think that's what the Trump said. It's not for everybody, right?
Yes.
Yes, we disagree with that. We strongly disagree with that.
Well, I think Trump really helped me to understand America much, much better now. The democracy, the nature of American spirit. But the middle of last year, when it's on the heat of the China-U.S. trade war, one of my portfolio companies went public on NASDAQ. It was the best IPO I've ever done. They subscribed for about 4 times. So there were lots media coverage about the U.S. and China trade war, but I think there was nothing happening on Wall Street, and Trump had really no influence on the open market. Trump had lots of blah 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 blah, in media, and he had a lot more media coverage in China. I think U.S. public investors, I think they're not really influenced by the president of the country. It's a different society, and it has a different structure for government and market. So China and the U.S. are very different. The Chinese people listen to our leaders versus in the U.S. We do not pay much attention to the presidents. So I had proof myself in that IPO, last year. So I really encourage people to just ignore all the bullshit between governments and focus on their own business, their startups, their technology, or whatever they want to. The governments, the presidents do not really control the world. We control the world. That's what I want to share with you guys from my experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a very good point.
Yes, government, they don't control. I think nobody control the world. God control the world. But I really like your confidence. Just go ahead and pursue your dream and don't really worry about those things. And that's a great comment. Thank you. So Sarah, you will be our last speaker. Yes.
Thank you, Diana. This is Sarah, and I do have a question for Mr. Steve. So what I do is I help Chinese brands to enter international markets and to build their global presence in their branding processes. And of all the global market, U.S. is our priority, and that has most eyeball from these Chinese brands. So my question is, during the last presidency of Mr. Trump, that during that time there was some concerns and it's like trade wars. There was some uncertainty going on there, and actually recently a lot of our my clients and the people that I work with, they have this concern and raising this question is, with the new Biden administration, how are things going to be for the global sellers? Is this still a prime time for global brands to enter international, particularly U.S. market? And that is my question, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
So the answer is difficult because Biden isn't removing the trade restrictions right away. So if you're one of the businesses that is directly targeted, it's going to be hard. But there are other businesses that aren't the focus of the trade restrictions or they don't have as much impact on them, and they should be fine. My gut feeling, and in politics you never know, but my gut feeling is things won't get worse. If they may stay the same for a while, and I believe under Biden they will gradually get better. So that is where I think it's going. And Charlie pointed out that Trump said a lot of stuff, but it really it didn't impact his IPO, and he had an incredible IPO. Investors in the U.S., they want to make money, and people in the U.S., they want to do business, and they will choose the best solutions at the end of the day. So if the best solution is coming from China, it tends not to be a problem unless there is a specific government regulation or restriction placed on that category of business, then it can have an impact. But there are a lot of businesses that are less, are less at risk of having these that will fare perfectly fine as long as things don't escalate.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, go ahead. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I was just about to say thank you. I think that definitely would give us a lot of confidence, especially what Steve mentioned, is the business focus. I think that's the core underlying logic in terms of all the business efforts, especially for the sellers who are going for global markets. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Yeah, before we take off, I would like to invite 夏纯老师 give us a summary for today. And 今天的是第4期的创业圈啊，在这我也提醒大家，就是我们的每个礼拜呢，就是我们争取在1小时，不过我们有时候稍微超一点，但是不会超过半小时的，所以我们就在6点半以前把这个结束了。那么在每个礼拜4的下午5点钟，我们也希望大家可以就是再回来参加我们。你有什么想法或者有什么话题或者有些合作的想法的话，也可以联系我。我的 profile 里面有 email， 也有我的这个 Instagram， 可以跟我联系。所以接下来我们就请夏纯老师来给我们做一个总结。So, Teacher Xia is going to give us a summary before we take off.
好，谢谢啊，谢谢。今天呢，我觉得都是很有意思的题目。我讲的是让大家能够多一些机会赚钱了，对吧？能够到这个私募的这个股权市场做交易 ，CATA-X 这个地方。那么Eason老师讲的事情，我觉得我很有启发，因为我呢是有机会啊，在中国走了200个左右的这个制造业的工厂，对吧？中国的工厂很惨，它确实需要有很多的这种升级。那么我们就和Eason这个事情就觉得特别的这个方向特别一致，只不过我们不知道怎么做就是了，是吧？就我们当时总结出来的，第一步要做制造升级，就把它产线能够效率能够提高，然后第2步呢就做产品升级，就能产品能够更有竞争力，有更多的 margin。第3步呢，就是Eason现在正在做的，就营销升级，就是如何做品牌，从品牌做电商，电商做的品牌，能够通过营销去解决它的问题。然后第4步就是服务，对吧？把它转型成一个卖产品公司呢，变成一个服务公司。那么Eason这边跟做品牌、做电商，其实都是能帮助做服务，这是给我很大的启发。那后面的那个 Steve 讲的那个问题呢，当然是对我们来说是非常 touchy 的，我也很有感触。这个就不再发挥了，但是因为作为一个中国人，这样总是希望中美关系能够变得好，然后能够世界是美好的，大家少一些纷争，是这样的。谢谢啊。
好，谢谢夏老师，谢谢。 这个我们希望下一次呢，我们会请到那个 Dr. Wan 啊，跟我们讲一下品牌升级，因为他在这方面呢也有很好的经验，所以呢，我们下一期的时候再会把这个话题呢再设计一下，也希望大家在下礼拜4的时候继续回来参加我们。那现在我们就一起倒数，从5倒数到1，倒数到0，我们就今天就结束了。也再次谢谢所有的朋友的参与，也希望大家呢这个快到周末了，这是 Easter holiday。有一个愉快的周末和节日。So let's count down and we're going to take off together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye bye. Bye bye.